Hello guys, let's go over the FootRig real quick here. First I need to show the joint on the foot. I don't need to see the original driver joints, so had those two driver joints. Now this joint chain is the original, and then let's work on this one. Before I do anything on the joint, I need to first define some of the locators or locations I'm going to rotate the foot based on. Let me go there and create a locator here so we can see where it is. And theoretically speaking, you can use anything that has a translation node. Oops, why I'm doing that. Let's make it bigger. Let's call this one locate lock left foot IK pivot ankle. Okay, this is the locator I'm gonna use to for the ankle position of the foot. Of course, I always give things a group, just to keep things clean and protected, and give me extra control on it. So if I need some outside later, I can do that on the group. Okay, now select that group and then the ankle joint. Let's do a very simple match transformation. Okay, got it there. And then I can duplicate from there and holding down V to move the duplicated one to where the joint of there, where the middle, I place it in the middle of the the foot, but sometimes it's better to put it on the toe, I believe, because that's actually where the foot can only bend. Let's call this one is ball. Okay, now duplicate this one, holding down V. Let's snap the new one to where the tip of the foot is. Okay, and then let's drag it down to the ground, or actually to the bottom of the geometry. Either way, this is the pivot. We're gonna rotate the foot forward. So this one can be called toe or tip, any way you want to call it, as long as that makes sense to you and makes sense to your animator. Okay, one more time, duplicate it and drag it back to all the way to the back of the foot. Okay, and here is where we're gonna rotate the foot based on the heel. So let's just name this one heel. Okay, now one more duplication and move it to where the inside of the foot is here, and then this one will be called inside. And then this one will be outside. Okay. Oops, sorry, that's not outside. That's also inside, and then I need one more for the outside. Duplicate it, and then this one more will be moved to the outside of the foot, somewhere here. And then let's call this one outside. Okay, all those locators are now here. they're identical orientation wise, because I just duplicate that from the ankle and then use point snapping, but their location is different, and all those locations are needed to actually bend or rotate the entire foot in an IK way. Okay, now let me put them into their hierarchy. The ankle one will be underneath the ball one, and then the ball one will be underneath the toe one. The toe will be underneath the heel. The heel will be underneath the inside, and inside will be underneath the outside. So the entire hierarchy will look just like how we create FK controllers. So you'll have a locator, a group, locator, group, locator, group kind of hierarchy. Okay, now select this entire group and let's switch back to IK. Okay, now select this entire group and then parent that to the IK controller. Now if you take a look at the IK controller, now we have the IK handle to control the IK here, and we also have that new hierarchy we created. Now open this hierarchy, and then I need to parent that IK handle there all the way down to the bottom. And now if you drag the IK handle, the IK controller, everything will still work. We're just having all those different pivot locations now to rotate the IK handle. For example, if I want to rotate the toe, I can rotate based on that, but there are some issues I have to fix first. When I rotate the toe this way, the entire foot goes up. What I need to do is I need to make the joint here go down to compensate that, right? Normally, or in some cases, people use IK, single chain IKs to do that. Here I'm gonna combine that actually with the IK-FK control on the ankle joint. Now let's take a look at, because that's what I want to rotate it back to compensate that other side. Let's go to Window and then Node Editor and see how this thing is being controlled. That's the left joint band. Let's clear things up and then import the connections to the ankle joint, the actual band ankle joint, and then it's being controlled by using our blending method here to control translate and rotate. Let's disable those two. I want to then use the orient constraint way to do that, because orient constraint actually trying to match the orientation when things are rotating. Even their translation is not moving, they will still try to match the orientation. Anyways, so what I need to do is quite simple here. After disabling the original control from IK and FK on the leg, I'm gonna use two things to control this joint. One is this ankle locator here. Another one will be the FK driver joint on the ankle. So those two. Select that locator, and then the FK driver ankle joint, those two, and then let's select the band joint here. Do a constraint, orient constraint. Okay. Now this orient constraint now have two weights, one from the original FK driver joint, this one, and then another one will be coming from the new locator we created on the ankle, this one. Because this new locator we created is the children of FK controller, that means when I rotate FK controller, it kind of rotates the ankle joint too. And then of course, because FK driver joint is being controlled by FK controller, so when I rotate FK controller, it will also rotate. Now their weight on the band joint here, let's open it. You see that orange constraint we just created, their weight will be both 1, so they all have 50% control on it. So all I have to do is use IKFK blend slider to control the weights. Let's go back to node editor. Okay, let's just create a new tab and then open the connections on the slider. Now we can see the slider and then the reverse node here. Let's just select those two and clear up, and then add those two back in, just to make things very clean to work with. Now I also need to control to grab in my orange constraint on the band joint here, this one, drag it in using your middle mouse button and open it. Now I want to use IK and FK slider and the reverse version to control the weight here. So FK1 will be, let's see, when the locator is having translation x as 1, FK is up. Okay, so translate x goes directly to FK. The reverse version goes to IK. Now let's take a look. Now in FK mode, I should see FK takes full control of the foot. Oh, not quite there. I think there's something wrong there. Let's see. Oh, the other one is I connect that to something else. I'm sorry about that. Let's go back. So that one needs to connect it to the FK ankle locator instead. I'm sorry about that. Now if you're in FK mode, you should see the foot being fully controlled by the FK controller. Now if you go back to IK mode, IK controller now can control the foot rotation. Okay, behaves just like before. Now because of that new constraint I did on the ankle band joint from the ankle locator, now if I try to rotate, for example, the toe locator here, I can then have it looks like this instead of everything offsetted, because now that thing rotates, right? When I rotate this locator, the ankle is obviously tilting, and because of that, it's gonna control the band joint also tilting the same way, so that way it looks like only the tip is being tilted out, but the entire foot remains stable on the tip area. Okay, now I have that working, and then it's time to set up one more controller for FK, IK here, because sometimes we want to control this part individually. So let me just go there and create a new circle here, and then make it bigger. And then let's call this one AC left foot bow, and then group it, and then name it AC left foot bow GRP, and then select that group. And then this step is also very important. Select that group and then shift select the locator there. Okay, not the joint, the locator. Let's do a match transformation to bring it here. Okay, the reason I need that is because I need to use constraints from both IK and FK ankle controllers or ankle controls, and then I need them to be aligned properly in order to get rid of those weird flipping. And then I can grab those vertex here and then just do some tweaking to make it match with the shape on the foot. Okay, again, this controller is aligned with the locator here, and remember that locator is being duplicated and directly moved here using point snapping, right? So that locator is aligned with that locator orientation wise. That means my controller here is aligned with that locator orientation wise, and also means that controller instead of matching with the joint here, I'm matching the orientation of this controller with the band joint, because that's how I match transformation on this locator. Okay, Now select that ball controller here, and then I need to use that controller to control the ball joint. So constraint, orange constraint this time, because it's not aligned with that joint, I need to actually have maintain upside down and apply. Okay, now if I rotate this controller, I should see it's able to control the rotation of the ball here on the foot. Okay, now if you try to rotate the ball, sorry, ankle one, you can see now I can, oh sorry, that's not, oh, I'm sorry about that. I think I named those things all wrong. So that's right, those all have pivot thing, but I think I named the things underneath wrong. I should name this one like not ball ankle but pivot ball. Okay, but this is just the name, so if you're doing it, please rename them this way. So the group is called pivot ball, the locator will be called pivot ball 2. Okay, now if I rotate this locator, now you can see the foot is rising this way. One of the reasons is because this one is not following, is because the controller now takes over the orange constraint, right? Because of that orange constraint, now my ball rotate will not affect it, and that's actually what I want when I because we have this kind of movement on the foot all the time when we are working. Okay, now when I go there and try the toe one, well, it won't work anymore because the toe one cannot rotate it either, because that one is being taken care of by the rotation of this, right? So in order to fix that on the toe part and every part after that here, I need to use the toe controller now to do a orange constraint on it, on the group. Okay, now if I rotate it, I can see now it's moving. That way, that thing actually also offsetted away that controller there. A very easy fix is using the joint here, the ball joint, to do another constraint, point constraint, to constrain it to where that is. Now if I rotate it, you see everything works. In other words, I'm using this controller for two purposes. One purpose is this controller now controls the rotation here, so I have this extra control to control this part individually. And then another purpose is that because of that orange constraint, I can lock this part when I'm rotating the ball. This part is locked. But on the other hand, because I have orange constraint from the toe locator on the group of this controller, so the toe locator can actually rotate the entire thing. Okay, that's the basic idea here. Alright, now when those are set up, all that left is doing set driving keys. I need some new attributes there, so let's go to edit, add attribute. Let's call this one, this one is called divider to divide the original attributes, those ones, and just give it a nickname as like a space, and then float number should be fine, just 000, and then add. Then we'll just add a empty thing there, and then let's just lock it so it's not gonna change or being keyframed. Okay, now let's add the actual attribute we need to set the driving key. This time I can name this one ball lift. Float number minimum is -10, max one will be 10. Add. So I can use that attribute to control the ball going up or down. It's going down is actually not working because we don't have stretching. Let's just keep it simple then. let's go there and select the controller, and then go to edit attribute. I actually don't want it to go negative ways, so zero out the min max value to 0, the mean value to 0. So now this attribute can only go from 0 to 10. That means I can only lift the ball. Okay, that's one attribute. Let's keep adding. This one will be the ball lean or twist. You can call it any way you want it to. Generally speaking, it's just rotated in different ways. So this one, this new controller, ball lean or new attribute, will be controlling the movement like this. Okay. Yeah, that one moves somehow. I think that's because the AK actually drags the controller that way. But that should be good enough. We just only need a little bit. Probably a good idea though is that because you rotate the AK handle like that, the AK handle goes sideways, and we use that rotation to compensate the rotation back, but still because the length could be different, that's why it's being dragged back a little bit. Okay, but we just need a little bit, so we just need to go there somewhere there. The foot can actually not be able to bend that way anyways. So, but let's just have that thing there in case maybe sometimes with the animator may need that, mostly because in the animation principles there's one that is called break the joint, which means they actually make movement that is impossible just to make the animation more fluid and form certain like lines of action and things like that, you know, just to make the animation looks pretty, even that thing is not possible. Okay, now let's keep on adding new attributes. This one is a tip or toe lift negative 10 10 add, and then toe lean. And you see the pattern here. What I'm trying to do here is just go to every or define the attribute here to be able to control every locator here. So I have all those locators. I want to control them in two rotation directions. One is this direction, another one is that direction. And then the way I name them is one direction is lift, another direction is lean. So there's nothing actually particularly hard to remember here. It just goes through one by one. So ball, toe, and you know what next one is, right? That's the heel one. So add it, let's go add it, and then add a new attribute, and now this one will be the heel. So heel, and then lift, lift negative 10 10 add, and then heel. This one will be called a lean. So rotate it left and right, negative 10 10. Okay, add. Now when I have those two, I can control the foot this way, go up or down, or left and right, like that. There is a limitation, but all I need is just a little bit. We can also use the controller to do the same thing if you wanted to. Anyways, so that is the heel, lift, and lean, and you know what's next, right? Those two, left and right, to rotate the foot. Rotate the foot this way or the other way. Okay, let's now go select the controller here. Again, let's add those two, but I can actually combine those two rotations into one. Let's call it inside, outside. Minimum is negative 10, maximum is 10, and then that's those attributes I need to add. I need one more to mimic the animation specifically for walking or running when you have the foot go this way first and then rise up from the tip, but the locator here goes back. This kind of movement all come back together, and then another pose will be that one. Okay, so let's add a controller to control all that movement in just one attribute. So add attributes. This one will be called I just name it with the control it's gonna do. So ball, toe, lift. Okay, minimum is -10, maximum is 10, and then add. This one will control both ball and toe, and of course the back will be also control, so it's probably better to also add in the heel, or if it's if we want to make it easier for the animator to understand, maybe we can name it like walk poses or things like that. Anyways, now I can start doing the set driven key. Let's go to animation key, set driven key, and then set. Now this one will have the controller, AK controller as driver. The driven one, let's go one by one. The first thing I want to go for is the ball one, so load driven, and then the rotation axis will be, let's say, rotation Y here, and then the attribute I want to use to control that will be the ball lift on the AK controller. Now let's key it first, and then go there and select the controller, and then change the ball lift to 10, and then let's just lift the ball, and then key it again. Now if I go back there and then change the values here, I can see now I can use this attribute on the AK controller to control that particular movement. Now ball in will be another one. So ball in will be controlling, let's see, the rotation X, I believe. So rotate X, ball in. Make sure you select the right attribute and then the right attribute to be driven, and then key first, and then go there and change the lean to 10, and then let's lean it that way. Okay, key, and then go back, change that to -10, and then rotate it that way. Okay. Okay, now toe lifts and toe lean. Let's do those two things. Toe lift and toe lean will be applied on this locator, so let's drag that one, load driven, to make it the driven one now. Toe lift will be controlling the rotation Y, key it, and then go back there. On the AK controller, let's make toe lift go all the way up to 10, and then let's lift the toe joint, the toe locator, like that. Okay, that's probably too much. Let's key it, and then let's go back to -10, and then let's do it this way. I actually cannot do that either, because you cannot actually drag the leg, make it longer. Anyways, let's go there and then fix the attribute here. Let's go to edit, edit attribute. For the toe lean, toe lift, I also don't want it to go negative ways, so minimum will be also 0. Let's try that again here. Now I drag it to all the way up. I can lift it, but I don't want to go back. I don't think it can go back. Although sometimes when we have the IK stretch working there, we can do that. But let's leave that for later on when I actually introduce that part. Okay, let's move on to the toe lean. Toe lean will be controlling the same locator, but this time it's the rotation axis. So let's key here and then go there, change the toe lean to +10, and go there and rotate it that way. Key it, and then go back to -10 and go the other way. So that's that. So toe lean and toe lift. Cool. Let's move on to the heel part. I need to then drag the heel locator as the driven one, and then the heel lift will be driven the rotation Y, key it first, and then change the the heel lift to 10, and then let's lift it up. Okay, key it and then go back to -10 and then rotate it down that way. Key it. Now we have the lift up and down like that. And then let's do the heel lean here. So I need to select its value here, and the attribute I believe is X. Right. So let's key it here and then go back there and change the lean to +10 and then rotate the heel that way. Key it. Okay, we don't have twisting joint here, so it's not very convenient. For the twisting joints, I will introduce later when we're actually doing the advanced rigging. I'm gonna have a more advanced twisting functionality here, or we can also have a simpler version when we're doing the quadruped animal rig later on. So far, I just want to make things easier to understand because you need to have some more constraints here to have 1 or 2 joints in the middle. Anyways, let's go here and change the leans to -10 and then drag it that way. Okay, key it here. Now we have the lean like that. Inside and inside out will be also very simple. We need those 2 locators to be controlled. So let me go there and grab those 2. Actually, I can go select them here and load driven. Those 2, the left and right, will be using the Z direction. So let's select them both in the list and then click on the rotation Z and use inside out as the attribute that is driving them. Key them first and then go there. And then use the inside out. Let's change that to 10 and then I believe now I can rotate it this way and then key it. Okay, now let's go back to the -10 and then I'm gonna select in the inside locator and rotate it that way. Okay, let's key it here again. Now if I go back to the AK controller, I'm now able to lean the entire foot inside or out. Okay, now the last one, the bow toe lift. I need to drive 3 things, but because my bow and my toe are already being side drive and keyed, that's why I have those groups there. Now I can actually apply controls not on the locator anymore, but on the group of the locator. It behaves just like an offset. So select the toe and then the bow group, and then load, and also I need another one, the heel one, so the heel group load driven. Those 3 will be driven by the bow toe lift. The attribute will always be rotation Y. So let's key them first. And then let's go there and change the bow toe lift to something like 5 in the middle. Not 10 anymore, but 5. And then I can grab the bow group in the list. Don't drag the control the locator anymore because that one is already being side drive and keyed. Let's do it this way. So raise it up like that, and then let's select everything and key. Then let's move on to value 10 on the bow lift attribute, bow toe lift attribute, and then this time I'm gonna rotate the toe up, but make the bow one go back to 0. Okay, again select everything and then key. That way I can actually have this movement here like that. Okay, now let's go back to -10 here. I need one more, which is the heel to go up like that, and then also select everything and key. Okay, now I have this movement all baked into one attribute to control all the movement here. Now I guess that's everything we have to do on the IK. Now one more thing to be aware of is now my IK works perfectly. Nothing is gonna broke. Here I have the individual control. I can even have the IK rotate up. That individual control for the ball can be rotated any way I want, and the other attribute here will still work. This works just like an outside, but when I go back to FK is gonna have some trouble controlling that anymore, because you know that this one is being ORing constrained by this controller, and the group of this controller will only follow FK because only FK have control ORing constraint on that controller. And the solution becomes much clearer here. All you have to do is adding the FK control or FK inputs on that ORing constraint, and it's very simple here. I just need to find the FK ankle driver joint, this one, okay, and then use that to control the group of this controller here using the ORing constraint. Now if you go there and check the ORing constraint, there we have two inputs. One is from IK, another one is from FK, and then you know what to do next, right? All you have to do now is using the IK/FK's slider to blend the values on the ORing constraint we just did, which is here. See this one. Okay, let's see, we have something we can take reference from. That's the other constraint we did earlier. Let's just see which one is connected to which. The translate X connected directly to FK. Let's do the same thing here. So translate X goes to FK. Okay, the invert version goes to IK. Now if I rotate my FK, that outside will follow FK also. And that one is not IK or FK, it's both. Or I think I shall call it the left foot ball offside or something. Anyways, this is just an extra control on that part. And they will work on both IK and FK. When I blend between IK and FK, it will not change. Okay, like that. Okay, so that's the entire setup on the foot. A little bit confusing at the beginning if this is the first time you do the FootRig, but the basic idea is very simple. We just need all those different locators here to rotate the IK handle here in different positions or based on different pivot. That's the basic idea here. And for the ball one, because I need the ball to rotate without oops, I have those all being controlled. I need to have the ball rotate without this one follow, so that's why I need that extra controller to fix that. But that controller will follow the toe locator, because we have the toe locator ORing constraining the group, so that's why it's following the toe, not the ball. That's the difference, and that's everything you have to do on the foot. Now to clean things up, we just need to add all the locators here, and then of course we don't need to see the joint. We only created all those locators and one extra controller there. So for that one extra controller, it can actually also go to the AC group. So grab that to AC left leg groups. Oops, not there. Where is it? Oh, it is over there. Undo is temporarily unavailable for some reason. Anyways, now my AC leg group actually having one more controller now, which is this one to control the front part of the foot, and that's the entire setup. Great. Now all you have to do is do the same thing on the other side of the foot, and then we will finish, and we're literally finished all the arm and leg and the torso. All the left for the body is the clavicle here and then the neck, and when they're done we can move on to more interesting things like facial expression. Okay.